Good evening, everyone. So yesterday we learned about some alter functions. Yep, we discussed about some alter functions. How do we modify the table structure? So we discussed about two options: update and alter. So update it for modifying the data that we have, and alter is for modifying the structure. Modifying the structure, we learned about adding fields, modifying the field names, removing the fields, and removing fields depends on the foreign key structure. So cascade, restrict, null depends on that. And foreign key, primary key also similar. Suppose if we want to add a primary key or foreign key, how do we do that? Let's see. So in a table, we want to add any primary key. Suppose we have the table, vendor ID is primary key. We will close all. Yeah. So this is the structure we will use. Describe and TBL products, TBL vendors. So this is the table structure, and here primary key is this is the primary key. Vendor ID is the primary key. Suppose I want to add vendor name also primary key. So vendor name also we want primary key. Then can we have multiple primary keys in a table? So actually we are adding a primary key here. Suppose alter table and table name TBL what vendors, and add which one primary key, and field name. I am defining the field name. Suppose field name is what vendor name. Vendor name is the field name. So we are adding this as primary key, and it is showing error. Why? Because already we all have a primary key. We discussed that we cannot have multiple primary keys, but we can have multiple unique keys. Unique, I told you, na? So if you cannot define multiple primary key, you can have multiple unique keys. Can you create a table without primary key? Can we create tables without primary key? For example, so we are dropping this primary key. So what is that? Alter table TBL vendors drop primary key. We are dropping the primary key. So the primary key is removed. Then we will use describe TBL vendors. then you can see it is showing that it is nullable, no, but primary key is removed. It's not having a primary key. Now we can create tables without primary key. There is no problem in that. But we discussed that primary key is required. Primary is required for which purpose? For editing, deleting, it is required. But already we learned that if you can turn off the safe mode, already we have safe mode now. If we turn off the safe mode, then without primary key also we can handle manipulations. Already we saw, right? So actually if safe mode is on, default safe mode is on, safe update is on, everything happens through primary key. And if safe mode is off, you can manage without primary key. So we can drop primary keys and we can add another as primary key. So how do we add another as primary key? Suppose you have the option. This is how do we add that? Here is we will have a alter table and table name TBL vendors, add primary key and primary key field. This time I given vendor name as primary key field. Vendor name as primary key field, it is added. So we have described, so primary, TBL vendors, TBL vendors. And in this, you can see now this is primary key. Already primary key is nullable. It makes it as what? Not nullable. By default, it adds as primary key. If there is a primary key, you cannot have another primary key. You have to remove the primary key and you have to add a primary key. So we cannot have multiple primary keys. So managing primary keys. How do we manage primary keys? So first point is table can have only one primary key field. It can have only one primary key field. So you can remove a primary key. You can remove a primary key and set another field as primary key. So first we have alter table TBL vendors, drop primary key. Anyone attending React.js sessions also? Completed, attending UI full stack people are there, right? We have an online requirement, offline requirement for Hyderabad location. I'm posting this. This is 23, 24 passed out. So any criteria asked? Instasoft. Problem is they given the last date today only. Posting today, last date also today. So I will upload immediately now. Instasoft. I posted one requirement just now in another requirement is that because they given last date today only. So I have posting this. UI, any qualification, any percent, any year passed out they want. UI full stack people. This is another company. Yeah, I posted 2 opportunities in my Instagram. Check once. They are for UI full stack with React JS people. You don't need to finish your backend just with these skills already you learned up to JavaScript or front end. You can apply for them because they are very for any qualification absolute freshers. They give training on the technology. One company is asking for training, just outline skills. They will train you on their required technology. Okay, I posted two. Right. So I posted 2 opportunities. Their last date is given today only. So mostly by today is 15, right? The given last date 15 only. Once check. Right. So if you, their links are working, have you tested them? Links are working. So because 1 or 2 occasions links have problem, you check that once link is working because you can upload your details there. Okay, right. Next, another one. What is this? Is managing primary keys. What you are doing, we are adding table name and drop the primary key first and you add a primary key. Because if primary key is already there, you cannot add a primary key, right? Next, if anyone asks how to change primary key name, primary key field name, data type, can we change primary key field name, data type? Yes, we can do that. How? We have a change command by using change field name. You can change data type. You can change. You can add more constant also if you want. But So you cannot have multiple, you have to drop. So if you want multiple unique keys, unique key fields, then add unique constant. Then you have to add the unique constant. Right. So that you already know how to add. So adding primary key and removing primary key, these two important. So managing foreign key. Foreign key. So table can have multiple foreign keys. Foreign keys. You can add a new foreign key field. Syntactically, how you add? What is the foreign key syntax? Yeah. What is the foreign key syntax? So generally foreign key you have a constant and constant name. Constant and constant name. So how you add the foreign key constants here is we have foreign key. Suppose the table is foreign key. Suppose I am creating a schema here. Design, that means not here. Which table we are having? Products. Products related to, I think we created while another, here we created I think in our previous example we designed here we haven't created, these are normal tables. We haven't created the foreign key there. So FK, what is that foreign key? Suppose categories. Categories. So what is the categories here? Schema. FK categories. That means you have a foreign key created here. Commands already we learned. Constants, this table don't have a. Okay, let me add one example for that. I think we created in our, this is only the database we have na. Yeah. This is the table name. Schema we don't need. Okay. So already we have table created, in that you just define this one. In previous already notes I given that example, how to add a foreign key. There you need to modify that. Alter table, table name, add constant. We have to use constant. What is the constant? FK. So suppose constant name it is. Constant name. And what is the reference we have to give? Foreign key Which one? Reference na? Previously, which table we created? You have table na? Already we created one table na? I think we created one table already. Let me add the table where on which date we created. Here we created the foreign keys na? So which table? That was our previous table. Because already we created that, I will just copy this. This we created with the cascade. Okay, right. This is categories table on cascade. Here we have to use the same syntax we need to apply. So constant name, and we have to add foreign key. Foreign key field name. Syntax I will give because already we know this. Field name. References is, this is reference table name and field name. On update cascade, on delete cascade. We can use different also, as I already explained. What is different? On update, you can keep reference. On delete, you can say null. You can add different. Because these tables we newly created, you create again same tables with keys and add this. You can remove foreign key. By using drop command. So, and constraint name. So what you have to do syntactically, we have to use alter table, table name, drop. You have to define the constraint name, constant name. You don't need foreign key name, just only foreign key constant name. What is the constant name you given? So in our previous example, we have alter table, TBL products. So we have drop. What is the foreign key name we given? This is FK categories. That is the foreign key name. Yeah, we need to add that FK categories. It removes that foreign key constant. Constant is removed means all the references are removed. So you create the tables one more time because I changed those tables for our later commands. You just change them and apply. Right. Now, next important is, so these are managing the primary keys and foreign keys we have. If any foreign key is there, you can just remove that by using this drop. You have to just add the constant name, which one you want. So primary keys, foreign keys, column names, and how to manage all of this. Next, important, after knowing how to update and alter, now one more operation we are having here. What is it? Delete. Delete command. Another important delete. So delete command. So SQL delete command allows to delete table data. Delete table data. So you can delete using various conditions with the where. With where. You can also limit deleting number of records using limit. So we can limit deleting number of records using limit. Syntactically delete from table name where condition limit count. Like this we can use. Limit is optional. Whenever you delete, you can just delete using the condition. All fields are deleted. All fields of the matching record will be deleted. All fields of matching record will be deleted. Already we learned how to remove specific column. Yeah, already learned, na? Drop. By using alter table drop, you can remove specific field. This is removing all field for particular table. Means all fields that match the condition. You can match with the condition. So how do you write like, so delete, what is delete? Delete what? From TBL products. So where the product ID is equal to some 4. That is based on the primary key field, how you can define. So delete from TBL products where category is equal to electronics. And you can limit 3. That means it will remove the top 3 found records. So can we delete? So suppose if anybody asked you a query like how to delete the top 3 rating products. Top 3 rating products from table. How to delete top 3 rating products. Top 3 rating products. Highest rating top 3 products I want to remove from table. Then how do you write the query? You learned where condition now. So same you have to apply. Right? What is that? How you will write? Hmm. Same where you already learned, right? So how do you write? What do you say? Delete. Delete from TBL products. Products. So where you have to display top 3 rating products. So first we have to display in order, na? Right? So first delete where? How do you get order by? Here we will write down. So where rating, where rating order by DSC, order by DSC limit 3, where is not required, without where you have to write. Then how you will find? Delete requires finding the record. Written. So suppose we have products. Okay. Top 3 rating products we need to delete. So what we are using? Delete from TBL products where rating order by where, what is it? Order by rating. Which one? Directly order by order by rating. Order by rating. What is it? Descending limit 3. Order by rating descending 3. So this is deleting the records which are top 3 rating records, limit 3 records. So here what actually this do is order by itself is querying. What it is querying? Order by itself, what it is doing based on rating, it is collecting all the rating and displaying in order of descending order. So you don't need another where condition here because the order by query itself, what it is doing, it is displaying in order based on particular field. And descending order, it is first displaying highest to lowest, then it is removing the three, top three, right? So this is how you define the query. So delete from table, order by and descending order. Right. This is up to the concept of rest of queries you can use where. Suppose you want to delete all products which are electronics and whose rating is below 3. Then what you do, you use an where condition. By using where condition, you can match exactly what they are. There are many matching, then I don't want all of them. Then you can be specific using your condition also. Right? These are all the basic operations using tables. How we can handle the tables and work with the tables. Right? So first, in database, we are going to discuss all the general operations, how to handle them. We learned creating tables and managing the table structure, editing, inserting, updating, deleting, querying. These are the 4 important things you need to know. Remember, we are not having a complete database session here. This is database related basics related to backend. That means actually database itself is a huge concept. A lot of things are involved. For you, the course contains only some important topics required for building an app. For building a full stack application, managing full stack application, what are the topics required? Those topics are given to you. Only those topics are given to you. So all complete everything database related concepts are not discussed here. So I will be very clear there. Why? Because usually only database complete operations, everything requires a lot of time. That means, people learn database like Oracle, MySQL, individually databases means it will be 2 months, 3 months. Oracle sometimes people learn about 6 months also, right? They are huge. Here we designed our course content suitable for full stack developers. That means here you will learn what is needed for developing a full stack application. Means you will able to manage all required for a project. But some concepts we will not discuss them. We will not go in depth about them. Only a basic idea we will have them. So, but to develop a full stack application, whatever is required, everything we will learn. But this is not only separate database session. It is a backend for full stack people. In that we have database like MySQL, MongoDB, Node.js, Express, everything we will. Node, Express, everything detailedly we will learn. These databases individually, they are huge. They contain a lot of things. What is required for our full stack? Those concepts we are learning. In the beginning, we shared a course content. In the course content, what topics are there in the databases? Those topics only we will discuss in this class. We are not going everything. But in some additional topics which are required, which are not in course content also we are discussing. So we are not discussing complete database here. So some limitations are there because we don't have complete time for only database. So we need to manage lot of technologies in the backend. That's the reason in the beginning itself we shared a course content with you. In that course content, database related some basic topics. So and the topics required for a project development, those topics only we cover in this session, right? So in this major concept is understanding about CRUD operations. CRUD operations is creating, inserting data, updating data and deleting, querying and all this. But so many, actually what you learned here, they are enough for interviews. But you cannot apply yourself as separate MySQL database developer, right? Why? Because for that you need little more concepts, in-depth knowledge for that. Administering and other type of commands you need to learn. Here, this is the class for UI full stack. For backend, some limited content is there required for developing apps for both full stack, front end and back end. So those topics we are learning here. So usually people learn separate databases. They spend a lot time in creating different tables, creating different relationships, understanding different scenarios. For us, what we are learning, this is enough for building an app, right? So we learned our main concept is CRUD operations. Now we will learn some more database objects, views, joins, triggers, how to create and work with them. Now we are going to discuss one more concept, that is about stored procedures. We are going to understand stored procedures. We will learn views, joins, stored procedures, all of this. Triggers, how to handle. I think in the beginning we shared the course content. Na? You have the course content. Na? Yeah, actually here database related, MySQL related some course content is there. These topics we are going to discuss. Huh? These topics we are going to discuss. These are MySQL topics. These are MySQL topic. In our course content we shared this. Huh? In this we have keys, constant, CRUD operations. So and commands and clauses, different clauses, how to use them, operators, wildcards, aggregate functions. So joins also we will learn. Some topics are there, views. Even though some topics are not mentioned here in this content, I will discuss. Some important topics are there, we will discuss about them. But actually these are designed for our full stack. Individual MySQL is huge. So individual databases are very huge, right? To learn one database, it will take at least 1.5 to 2 months time to completely know about it, all concept. These are for our full stack related. So in this, we will see what are stored procedures now. What is the concept of stored procedure? Actually, when you learned JavaScript, you are learning JavaScript, you already have an idea of the concept of functions. You learned about functions, methods like concept in JavaScript. If anyone is still learning JavaScript, they will learn about that in functions concept. Actually, what is the purpose of a function? Generally in JavaScripts, you have functions. What is the purpose of functions? One technical definition we learned, if you already learned JavaScript functions concept. because many people are attending this parallelly. They haven't done JavaScript. For them, it's fine. Others who done JavaScript, you used functions. What is purpose of a function? One technical word we learned. It is used to refactor the code. Remember, refactoring the code. Refactor means encapsulate a set of statements and store under one reference name so that you can easily execute, we can reuse, we can extend the code. So it is used for refactoring. That means actually um, you will learn in your JavaScript everywhere you will learn. But just basic point I will show here. Usually what happens is, suppose we are having some statement. This is document.write statement 1. So we have a statement 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Some statements are present. Now, what is the point? I want these statements to use in different locations. In the same order, we want these statements to use in different places. Then instead of writing them again and again, these statements, what we can do, we can select, we can right click on them. You will find an option called refactor. You will find refactor. Now right click, refactor. In refactor, it is asking you want to extract as a promise or a function. So we want as a function. And here we give the function name, print statements. That is the function. Now, what is refactoring? Encapsulating a set of statements and storing under one reference name. What is advantage of this? Whenever we want to execute this, we can just call what? Print statements. Then it is going to execute these 5 statements. I want again somewhere some print statements. Any number of times we can reuse. It is easy to reuse. It is easy to extend. A set of statements are used in a sequential order in a similar way every time. Then you don't need to write every time. You can refactor your code. In refactoring means what? Extracting those lines, storing under one reference name so that we can easily reuse. In MySQL also same. In MySQL, sometimes we need to write lengthy queries for filtering, for displaying order. And those queries we need regularly with some changes. First time I used a lengthy query to filter some data. And same query I want by making some changes. Then instead of again writing the queries, we can store them as a procedure. Procedure is just like a function. We can store them as a procedure so that we can access and reuse them from any location. Some set of statements are required repeatedly. Then better you can configure as a procedure. Actually, so usually procedure, we will see one point here. Computer programming provides refactor mechanism. Computer programming provides refactor mechanism. Refactor allows to extract a set of statements. And enclose as a single unit and close as a single unit so that you can reuse the statements without rewriting. You can reuse the statements without rewriting. So it allows to refactor the code. Means in computer programming provides a mechanism called refactor. In programming, you have two topics actually, refactor and reflection also. Reflection, refraction, two programming concepts are there. Reflection you will see in OOP-like concepts. Actually, refactor is a mechanism where a set of statements can be stored as a unit. That means you can keep them as a block so that you can reuse the statements without rewriting them. And how this refactor works actually, programming languages allow refactor by using 3 points are there, by using function, method, and actually procedure. Programming languages allow refactor by using three techniques: one, function, method, and procedure. That means in programming languages we have three refactoring techniques: functions, methods, and procedures. Even in interviews also many times they ask what is difference between a method, function, and a procedure. Actually, many times people are very confused also. Like for example, so we learnt about sum. So you are saying that function, right? So suppose we are having like print. Somebody says that, so this is a method. It is a method. Now what is this? That means, for example, you learnt array, string in general JavaScript handling, date functions and all. For example, actually index of, there is index of. Now is it a function or a method? People have a lot of confusion about this. That means, is it array methods, string methods, or array functions, string functions? What should I call them? Method or a function? Actually, in when you learn JavaScript, it is too much confusion because JavaScript have mixed behavior. But actually in computer programming, we have a clean separation. What is clean separation is, generally a function always returns a value. That means function cannot be void. Function cannot be void. Void means without return type. It is always returning a value. That means a function means it is intended to return a value. Suppose you are using so many, last session we learned, sum, average, count, min, max. What they do? They return the count, they return the average, they return a value. That means they are not methods. They are all what? Functions. That means in computer programming, functions cannot be void actually. But in JavaScript, you have a mixed behavior. That's the reason you are confused. Because in JavaScript, a function can be void. But actually in computer programming, functions are not void. Functions are meant for returning some value. they must return a value. They will return a value. So because already this confusion is there in so many places of JavaScript, like arrays. In JavaScript, array can store different types of values. But in actual programming, in other programming languages, array is a collection of similar type. But in JavaScript, it can store different types. These confusion will be there, but actual programming standards are there, programming logics are there. So a function is intended to return a value, It cannot be void. A function is intended to return a value. It cannot be void. Function actually intended to return a value. It cannot be void. It cannot be void. And a method is always void. It is not intended to return. It is not intended to return value. It is not intended to return value. So function and method. Actually, based on this, we can easily identify whether it is a function or a method, right? Later in JavaScript also you will learn, but JavaScript creates a lot of confusion because there mixed behavior will be there. But actually the mixed behavior is for procedure. Now your Oracle and MySQL SQL based languages, these have functions and these have procedures. What is procedure is, procedure can return a value or procedure can be void. That means it can change according to situation. In one situation, it will return a value. In another situation, it can become void. That means it can change the behavior according to situation. So for example, so you are writing select star from TBL products. If there are no records in products, what will happen? If there are no records in products, will it return error? It will not return error. It will not return anything. Am I right? If there are no records, it will not return any records. Simply, will it show any error? It will not show any error. It will simply not return anything. That means it is what? Null. But if there are records, then what it is doing? It is returning the record. Suppose I said that find. If I said that find the records which are having rating more than 4. If there are records, it will return. If there are no records, it will not return any error. It will be simply empty. That means a procedure can have behavior of both function as well as method. And you will not have these kind of procedures in other programming languages. Only few procedure-oriented programming languages are there. There it is supported. We have procedure-oriented programming languages. In those languages, that is supported. MySQL also supports procedures. But many languages don't support procedures. They support only either functions and methods. So what is the concept about procedure is a procedure. A procedure can return value or can be void type. It can change according to the situation and state. It can change according to the situation and state. So what my SQL will do? So SQL allows to create procedures, so that they can return the value or can be void. Create procedures so that they can return the value or can be void. So how do we configure the procedures and how we can handle this? So that is the procedures concept is. How do we create the procedure? We will see that. So to create procedure, we have a specific syntax here. So creating procedure, a stored procedure. Right. For this, we have some important rules to follow. A procedure comprises of a procedure may contain. So we say better a procedure may contain multiple set of statements. A procedure may contain multiple set of statements. So various statements in a procedure need to be separated. Hence, every procedure requires a delimiter. Every procedure requires a delimiter. Delimiter is nothing but separator. Delimiter is a separator. So the delimiter keyword is used to configure a separator for stored procedure. So here in MySQL, delimiter is mandatory. Delimiter is mandatory for stored procedures in MySQL. Delimiter is mandatory for stored procedures in MySQL. A separator is compulsory. Actually, in a stored procedure, we can have different set of statements. Different set of statements like one select query, one update query, one delete query, multiple set of statements we can give. If stored procedure is having multiple set of statements, we need to separate those statements. And for separating multiple set of statements, we need a separator. We cannot use separators like comma and all because they usually what they do is they are already used for different purpose. So stored procedure needs a delimiter. The default delimiter is $. You can customize the delimiter. delimiter. You can customize the delimiter. That means you can change the delimiter according to situation. If you want, you can modify that. We'll see how to modify them. So this is the first point. Syntactically, we need a delimiter. So delimiter and separator, and we need to end delimiter. We need to end the delimiter. And actually, in this, you have to define your procedure. You have to write your procedure inside this delimiter. The procedures are written inside the delimiter. So in MySQL, delimiter configuration is compulsory. Default delimiter is $. So how to create procedure? Procedure is created by using create procedure command. It is created by using create procedure command. Syntactically, we have like create procedure and procedure name. Procedure name. Procedure is defined like a method like this. We are creating a procedure here. Statements in procedure are defined using begin and end block. Usually procedures have begin and end blocks. They have begin and end block. That means usually we have create procedure, procedure name. So we have begin and statements. We have end and the delimiter. We have to define in this way. All this must be inside what? All this must be inside the delimiter. You need to configure the procedure in this way. Actually, it uses a default delimiter here. It uses a default delimiter. Generally, majority of procedure oriented approach, you will not have this curly brace. This is function oriented approach. In procedure oriented approach, usually you will have end, begin, end like options. Even conditions also. For example, if you remembered already, we used a case na, right? So when we used the case, so how we are using, actually, generally we write condition like this. If condition, then the statements, and actually end if. Like this, we write procedures. Majority in procedure oriented languages, the statements will be like this. You don't have a block. Usually function oriented languages, majority have a block. That means they have a curly brace start, curly brace end, parenthesis start, parenthesis end for functions and all. Here usually that is That is for memory allocation. Here we usually have an end, right? That means how you can configure the procedures, how you define. Suppose certain logic we need regularly to execute. Certain logic we need regularly to execute. Then what we do? Suppose we have to execute certain logic every time. What we have to do is we need to create a delimiter. Delimiter. So what is the delimiter? Delimiter is a dollar. That is the delimiter. And we need to end the delimiter. Delimiter is ended. Delimiter is ended. Delimiter is ended. Here we need to create a procedure. That means what we have to do? Create procedure. Procedure and procedure name. Any name for procedure. Usually people traditionally have SP as a prefix. Not mandatory. You can give any name for that. That is SP for stored procedures. Traditionally, you will see this in a project documenting. Regularly, they use SP prefix, not required. Suppose get electronics. That is the procedure name. And it needs a statement. What is it? Begin. And it needs a statement. What is it? End. And with the delimiter, you have to define the delimiter. You need to configure the delimiter. And what we have to do, so that means delimiter is compulsory. This end delimiter is compulsory. Once you define the delimiter end, you see now here inside the begin, what we have to do? Statements. So we have select star from TBL products. So where, so category, so is equal to electronics. Like this, we define the process. We need to configure the processor. Now we need this delimiter. Delimiter, what is the delimiter? End. We are ending the delimiter. This is not done. What is that here is we are creating a delimiter, and what is the separator name? Dollar is the separator. You can have a custom delimiter. Any custom delimiter you can have. Later I will show you custom delimiters. Actually, if you don't give this delimiter, generally in many database approach we use directly create procedure command. We don't need this delimiter, but I told you that default delimiter will be there. Suppose actually what we do, we don't write this delimiter. We don't define the delimiter. Without the delimiter, so usually stored procedure is written like this. Means general stored procedure is written like this. Now you see what it is saying, end is missing. Okay, I will end here, but still you can see it is not ending. We will end the statement here. This is end is missing. So you can see it is showing an issue like it is expecting statement is incomplete. So it is unable to end your, it is unable to end your statement. So end your procedures. Because here there can be some set of statements also, different set of statements. When there are different set of statements, a procedure need to know how to end it, how to separate them. So delimiter is compulsory. In many programming of my SQL, you don't need the delimiters to mention. Delimiters are internally used. Even here also see, internally used means I will go to our products. In that we have stored procedures. This is the table. In the tables, I am adding, right click on procedures, create procedure. You see create procedure automatically gets a create procedure, procedure name, and we have a begin and end. What is the statement? We are giving the statement. What is it? Select star from, what is it? Some TBL products. Like this, we are giving the statement. And usually when you define the statement, so you write condition where category is equal to electronics something. electronics, and you give the processor name. What is the processor name? Processor name like get electronics. Get electronics is the processor name. You can give any prefix, suffix, anything. Now observe carefully when we execute this. So when you execute this apply, you see by default it puts a delimiter. Default it have a delimiter. It have a delimiter. Actually this it is already using it. What it is already using? Shopping is the database. It is using it and it is creating the processor name, and it is having begin and end will end with this, and you need a start and end delimiter to define. That's mandatory to do that. Even you don't do, actually, if you don't, when you manually write, you have to do it. If you are not manually writing, then automatically it is going to create. And see, this is a general query. What is this query? It is nothing but if drop the processor if it is exists and rewrite, create it. Actually, this is not required for us. We can directly create a processor. That means you see the processor is created. So you see in the processors, you will find get electronics is a processor. If I have to manually write a processor, then how do you write the processor? First, we need to start with what? Delimiter. So what is the delimiter? Delimiter. Delimiter is a dollar. And we need to end delimiter. Delimiter. We need to end the delimiter. After that, you need to use a command. What is it? Create procedure. Procedure. And processor name. So I given any processor name. What is the processor name? Suppose I give get footwear. That is the processor name. Actually, you don't need, so this one. So we have like begin, and we have what? End, and it ends with the semi. And here we need some command. What is the command? Select what star from what table name? TBL what? Products. What is it? So where? Category is equal to what? So footwear. Like this we are defining the category. And actually this is the processor name. So here it is showing there in the string type, but here just you give the method name. What is it? Get what we give footwear, footwear. Get footwear we are giving. Now what we do here is we execute this one, and you see delimiter, it is showing some issue. A spelling issue is there. Yeah, right. And actually when I run this, it executes exists, footwear where it exists. Just now it created, I think. Refresh. I think it is already there. Remove it. Okay, now I will execute this. It is going to create the processor, and you see there is a stored processor by name what? Get footwear. You have to manually configure this processor in this way. And once you define this, how do you call the processor? Wherever you want to use the processor, you have to use call. Call processor name. What is the processor name? Get what? Footwear. Get footwear is the processor name. When you execute that, it will execute the statement and it will return the result. From wherever you want to access, then you have to use the command. What is that? Call. And anytime you want it, just mention it. It is going to execute everything. So generally, to create the processor, we have to define this entire syntax. So complete syntax here is delimiter and delimiter name. Delimiter here we have create processor and processor name. And we need begin, and the statements end, and we need to configure delimiter end. So you can execute the statements by calling stored procedure. We will learn some more points about this because generally we can write the statements directly. Generally, you can directly write the statements and use them. One of the major recommendation is it is always recommended to execute your queries through a procedure because procedure will avoid injection attacks. One of the main security problem you will face with MySQL is SQL injection attacks. Later at the end, I will tell you about security related some points. Actually, while working with SQL to avoid SQL injection attacks, we always recommended to use stored procedures. That means in our programming, we majority recommend to use procedures. For every query, better write a procedure and use a procedure. Directly using queries always may lead to injection attacks. For security, procedure is important, right? Example is this one. This is the example how you configured the procedure. This is the procedure call get footwear. Now here we are having so many options like what? So like we can have procedures parameterless, parameterized. Usually you learnt in JavaScript functions methods can be parameterized or parameterless. So what is the purpose of parameter? Usually parameters are used to modify the function. A function can be modified by using parameters. So we will see procedures also can be parameterized or parameterless. If it is parameterized, then how do we pass the parameters? What type of parameters procedure allows? And what is the purpose of parameter we need to know. Parameterless, this is parameterless. It is not having any parameters. You can have parameterized. We'll learn about that. What is parameterized? What type of parameters are allowed? That we'll see next session. Monday we'll see that. Monday we will discuss more about these procedures. How to create procedures for different purpose. In parameters, out parameters, different parameters are there. We will see how to handle them. Okay, right.